What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to season 4 of the Mindshare podcast. I am your host, David Greenspan, and thank you for tuning in today. This week's episode is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems and our friends over at the Buzz Conference. Now, the Buzz has 2 dates that I keep telling you about, and I want you to mark these ones down. Real important. The first one's coming up really, really quickly right now. June 24th. This is a philanthropic initiative with a goal of raising $1 million over the next 5 years to support Indigenous communities. And the next one is called Disruption 2022. This one is taking place on September 7th through 8th. So again, June 24th and September 7th through 8th. Mark them down right now. Both events are taking place at the Liberty Grand here in Toronto. So again, be sure to follow the Buzz on Instagram at the Buzz Conference, as well as visiting them online at www.thebuzzconference.com. Also, Kits is with us as a sponsor today. Kits is always with us as a sponsor. We're super pumped about that. Of course, there's an amazing powerhouse of marketing tools from everything from your CRM to keep in touch tools to getting yourself out there and really building enough mind share so that you get more market share. Absolutely loaded. If you haven't checked it out yet, what are you waiting for? If you have checked it out, well, hey, then you know what I'm talking about, and you were probably absolutely hooked, just like everybody else who was using the program. Again, just a powerhouse of a tool. Make sure you go to mindshare101.com, click on marketing up at the top right, and check out the awesome program. If you want to set up a demo, get some pricing, connect with the team at Kits, and they will set that up for you. Of course, as you know, we are on a push to get to 100 reviews on iTunes, and I would like to ask you, if you haven't yet, go over to this link and do it hey, if you want to do it now, you can do it now. If you want to do it at the end of the show, do it at the end of the show. Whatever, just do it, please. It is ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. So again, ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. Big 5 stars, nice little review. We appreciate you. As always, thank you in advance. Today's episode is number 184. Retiring early as a professional firefighter, he moved forward and became a full-time entrepreneur. In his first 6 years as a full-time loan officer, he was selected as a top 1% mortgage originator. He also managed a team to over $200 million in loans last year, which was their 5th full year in business. On top of his success with his branch, Dwell Mortgage, he manages a team of 80-plus originators and support staff across the country as the executive vice president of sales at Victorian Finance. He is also the co-founder of Next Level Loan Officers, who's coaching hundreds of loan officers nationwide. Joining me on this episode of the Mindshare podcast is Executive Vice President of Sales at Victorian Finance, Shane Kidwell. Shane, welcome to Mindshare podcast.
David, man, you made that sound really good. Can I have you do that for me every morning when I start my day?
My man, a pleasure to have you on the show, brother. It's been, it feels like I saw you yesterday, but it's like, what, back in January already when we were in Atlanta?
It's crazy how you get in this time warp with just the way things are in the world today. But yeah, man, it was a really fun conference, and it was really fun spending time with you at the dinner where we had singing, dance, and laughter all at one at a steakhouse was something I won't forget.
And no joke, we're talking like that went down in a private room between a sort of very small, awesome crew of people. But there's no exaggeration on that. There was singing, there was all sorts of stuff going on there.
It was awesome, man. But no, thanks for having me on. I'm blessed to be here. I'm excited.
Absolutely, brother. So tell us, just for everybody who doesn't know you, just share a little bit more about you. Obviously, I just read off the bio, but what you're up to, what the background is. Who do you work with on a regular basis, and what's your focus on a daily?
Yeah, man. First and foremost, for me, I'm blessed. I'm a husband. I'm a dad. I'm a first time dad, a late bloomer. Yeah. And so everything I do is for my wife, my daughter, and to make sure that I'm really reinforcing my faith. My day to day is I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur, right? So if there was a prison for entrepreneurs, I would be in the maximum security ward, right? I've been an entrepreneur since I was a little kid. My dad was one of the founders of a regional airline, and he was a serial entrepreneur. So when you're an entrepreneur, I run 5 businesses. Obviously, my main job and my main focus is obviously my corporate job with Victorian Finance, really just developing and growing our team. But then, of course, a huge focus for me is building out my coaching platform. We have over 500 members of our coaching platform. I am as an investor in some syndication apartments and other things as well. I have a co-working space that I work out of. So, man, my day is full. I start my day every day with a very simple 15-minute routine. It's mindset. It's stretching. I was a fireman in a former life, as you mentioned, and our bodies age at a different pace when you're doing what we did, and was blessed to be able to do that for 12 years. So my morning starts with a little bit of a mantra, a little bit of devotional time, some stretching, and then I get into a leadership devotional to set my mind right. Because for me, if my mind's not right, it doesn't matter what actions I do in my day, it's not going to be successful.
Dude, I love that, man. And I mean, again, today's episode is all about how to be and stay in control of you at all times. And I mean, kicking that right off the top, you talk about a morning routine, and we talk about the importance of that with a lot of people, of having that discipline to know exactly what that morning needs to look like. Because most often, and you know this because I know you speak to large groups of people and coach a ton of people as well, we know that most 9 out of 10 people reach for this thing when they first wake up in the morning, and they go
Yeah.
immediately to the social medias and the emails and everything else. Did you used to do that as well? Did you used to pick up that phone and kind of look for that stuff? And is that where the whole morning routine mantra just changed, or what was the reason for that?
Yeah, I mean, I had several defining moments in my life, which were lows, where I just
Yeah.
was at a low. And I think the reality is you have to be honest about where you're at to be able to get where you want to go. And so for me, I felt like my day was really running me. And yeah, it's funny. I when I'm coaching people, I make the joke. It's like people grab their phone and are engaging in social media before their feet hit the ground.
Yeah, man.
And if you look at social media, your smartphone as a drug, like the drug addict goes to bed with the drug, wakes up with the drug. Like I don't want to live my life that way. So knowing that it's a distraction, knowing that it's addictive, I actually moved my phone out of the bedroom and it's on the front counter by my front door. So when I walk in my front door at the end of my day, my phone gets plugged in. When I get up in the morning, I leave my house to go to work, I grab my phone. And so because I'm not disciplined inherently by nature, I had to create systems and tools to not distract me and let me get into those things that are just a terrible use of my time.
Dude, that's powerful, man. I mean, I think that everybody, you define it properly, it's a drug, right? People are addicted to it. People will pick it up first thing in the morning. People will look at it last thing at night. It will consume people. And I think that that's one of the big things that weighs on the mindset, right? Like that's what pushes people down into a negative place. And it consumes time as well. And we talk about time. And I mean, you just said 5 businesses.
Yeah.
How in the world do you have time to do 5 businesses and still, manage like life at home?
I have a coach, and so I'm really big on. I actually have 3 coaches. I have a counselor that I work with just to make sure my mind's right. I grew up with depression, and so I have to make sure that it's like if you grow up with a bad back, you got to constantly stretch. If you
Yeah.
grow up with a bad mind, you have to constantly be exercising that mind. So I have a mental coach, and then I have 2 business coaches, and so I'm constantly working with them. And with one of my coaches, what we came up with were 3 really simple pillars that I have to accomplish every day. I feel like for a lot of people, we don't feel accomplished. We do a lot of things. We get on that treadmill, and at the end of the day, we're exhausted. But exhaustion is typically not accomplishment, right? Those are very
Mhm.
different. And so for me, my 3 pillars are that I have to do every day. I have to invest. And so it's on I have little placards. I put them all over. I have them in my house. I have them in my car. I have them in my desk, in my backpack when I travel. It's every day, Olivia, invest an hour in my daughter. Every day, move, invest 30 minutes in movement every day. Everyday faith mindset. So I start my day and end my day with positive mindset. Now, it seems kind of silly to be like, well, if you move for 30 minutes, you spend an hour with your family, and you start and end your day with something spiritual, that's gonna be a day of success. The reality is those are driving pillars that make everything else I do more impactful. And so for me, consistently doing those 3 pillars every day, simplifying it to, because you go to work, and even if you have one job, I have too much to do and not enough time to do it. I have bosses pulling me in multiple directions. I have fires I have to put out in all these different areas. What do? You stick to the mindset. You default back to what you've trained yourself to do, like in the fire department or in the military. You always go back to your base. And my base for me is starting and ending my day with some sort of mental reflection. Calm my anxiety. Like even if it's a 5-minute, like I have an app on my phone that just does 5 minutes of chilling out my brain as I'm driving home, right? I don't watch news. I don't listen to music that's going to be super negative. Like I know that those things are going to, there's a gravitational pull, and we have to put on gravity boots to fight that gravitational pull. So for me, my 3 pillars in my day, those are my gravity boots keeping me grounded. Not having my phone by my nightstand is keeping me grounded, right? Because the inherent gravity in our world, in Toronto, in Seattle, it's the same. It's pulling us down to negativity, pulling us down to mediocrity. If we're one step above average, we've won, which is not true. Right. And so it's, for me, it's just fighting that gravity every day is my number one goal. And I do that through my 3 pillars.
Now with the ones where you're doing the faith in the morning, the evening, is that, I mean, from reading to writing, what kind of things are you doing there?
Yeah. So for me, yeah, again, you have to be honest with yourself. And
Yep.
like, I grew up going to church and I'm a believer, and I should be in my Bible, reading my Bible, but for me, I consume it better when it's audible. So
Mhm.
I have an app that like does a morning devotional. It's 10 minutes. And I have this strategy called compressing time. I learned it from a business coach. It's when you walk, talk, and chew gum. Right. For a guy who has 5 businesses, I can't do one thing at a time and I
Mhm.
hope to get it all done. So I stretch and I do my devotional at the same time. Right. So I have a protein shake and I drive to work at the same time. I listen to Audible, like, so my Audible books that I'm listening to on my way to work. So I'm getting multiple things done at the same time. So for me, my time is typically Audible. I sit on my porch. So I have a place that is my safety zone. Right. I think it's really important that everybody have a place they can go to just get rid of the noise. For me, it's my back porch. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I look out over a lake. I sit there. I listen to the birds, and I kind of just like chill out. And so I think it's really important to have a place you can go to and an action or a tool that you can use. For me, morning and night's really good to start and end my day well. But I do it through Audible forms, through apps and things like that.
Yeah, man. It's funny, as you say, like a place that you can find that quiet where you can get away from the noise. And it's like the first thing I look at. I know it's going to sound funny, and I'm not even joking when I say it, but it happens to be my Harley. You know, like ripping down the road. I know it's loud and you're outside and there's all sorts of other things, wind and whatever, but like I'm there by myself. It is just me, and it is just me and my thoughts and maybe my head in the clouds. And it allows you to collect a lot of the thoughts and sort of piece things together. And I mean, I'll tell you, I've been through before where I'll be riding along and I will get extremely pissed off and down and depressed about something, and literally take another corner. And next thing you know, you're totally elated and happy about something
Mm-hmm.
else, and you don't even know where your mind went to those, like bounce around like a ping pong ball. But the idea was we found that space to be able to collect the thoughts. Much the same, I would double down on that and say, my morning routine. First of all, I love Audible. I think it's powerful. I tell my kids all the time, yeah, I'm going to read, and my kids make fun. They're like, Dad, you're not reading. I'm like, I am.
Yeah.
Um, but it's feeding the brain, right? And this is the biggest, strongest muscle we have. And if we're not keeping this thing sharp, it is very hard to get out there in front of people and do what you do at the best of the abilities that you have. And I'll tell you, like, I ask people oftentimes, like, do you read? And they're like, oh, I don't really have time. I'd like to, but I don't have enough time for it. I'm like, look, do you, like, I had this conversation with somebody yesterday. Do you work out? They're like regularly. I'm like, okay, so why aren't you working out your brain?
Yeah.
Right? Why aren't you feeding your brain at that exact same moment? And oftentimes I'll tell people much the same. You're driving in a car. Do you have the windows down on a nice day, pumping the tunes? Oh yeah, man, enjoying the weather. No, roll those windows up. I act like everybody's got like still the manual rolls, right? But like press the button, roll those
We grew
windows
up
up.
that way, man. You
You
and
know
I
what I'm
were
saying? Yeah,
the
you get it,
windows.
But it's like roll them up and tune into your book. Feed the brain. And if you've done that already, and that could be reading a book through Audible, that could be listening to a podcast, watching a video. Not going to suggest watching a video while you're driving. Let's just put that out there. But there's that. And if you've gotten beyond that, then go and make the phone calls you got to be making. Because again, there's that doubling down and sort of multitasking, right?
Well, David, here's something that I would give to everyone as an example or an exercise to do. I barter with myself constantly. And so what I mean by that is if I do something that I know like I probably shouldn't do, if I'm like, I need to go to bed at about 9 because I get up at 4:45 to 5 a.m. every day. So if I go to bed late, the barter is, hey, the next morning I got to wake up 15 minutes earlier. If I eat something after I'm done eating, or if I have a carb and I'm not supposed to have carb, whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
Then I got to get on my Peloton. So I make trades with myself often because I know I'm not perfect. And instead of beating myself up, you have to have a solution to every problem. There has to be a clear path forward when you're in the place where you don't feel good. Most people just spin in that place. And for me, it's like, okay, I trade with myself. So I go, okay, I made a bad decision. I drank 3 beers tonight. I shouldn't have done that. I've got to now get on my Peloton for 30 minutes to trade and barter with myself to get back that positive momentum. Then I can go to bed feeling accomplished. So I think it's really important that people, they create these mechanisms in their brain, the most powerful muscle we have. They exercise it often, and they create systems so that when the day starts to fall apart, you go, I know how to default back to my baseline. My baseline is this. I go to my porch, I read my devotional, I get on my Peloton. So then it becomes second nature, right? And I think that's really important for people.
Okay, so what about the idea about time then, right? Because like we look at time. Everybody complains about not having enough of it. We know that we cannot stop the clock and just say, okay, pause for a second. Let me get more done. And then I'll catch back up or whatever it is. Like, it's real.
Yeah.
5 businesses, the bartering with yourself, which now means that if you are going to do something tonight, when we go out for that dinner or whatever, and you are going to have those few beers, that means tomorrow now the Peloton has to happen. What about time though? Like it's reality. And then the hour with your daughter. How?
Yeah.
How do you manage it all?
I think that what I've found, so my dad passed away when I was 6.5 years old.
Sorry.
And when we look at time as something that like there is only so much time and we can't get more of it, I just look at my time very differently. And I think so. I got coached by David Goggins for about a year, and I know you and I shared about that as well. It's creating an environment where you're uncomfortable. Nobody said you're supposed to be comfortable. Like the good book doesn't say that you take 4 days off every week. It says take 1 Sabbath, not 2. So I look at my life very differently than most people. I look at myself and I say, I want to leave no tread on the tires, not in a way where I'm out going to Vegas, partying, doing drugs. I want to have the most fulfilling life I possibly can. Every hour of that day, I need to be doing some action. Now that action might be sitting in a hammock, reading a book. That's an action. Right. But yep. I feel like purpose-driven people who have purpose-driven lives should fill every hour of their day with an action that is positive and moving them forward. So when you look at that, you prioritize your day differently. Now, I don't get everything done. I have an incredible team that I delegate a lot to. So when people say, man, you're all over the place, how do you do it? I do everything I can. There's no tread on my tires. There's no dust on my shoes, right?
Yeah.
Then I have an incredible team of people that I empower to do the same thing. So I have these, I call them my generals. I have my generals that help me with my businesses that are like-minded, right? That are hardworking, loyal, humble people that I want to give, equity and ownership to. And then they help me drive all my initiatives. And so you're never going to do it by yourself. And if you do, it's really not that fun. That's a lonely place to be. And I like to celebrate and win with others. So I like to build something up, bring other people in, kind of pass it off to them and then go do it again.
Love that. Okay. So again, from a time perspective then, like, are you rigidly scheduling when you look at the clock every day? Like, are you looking at that schedule in your CRM or whatever it is where you track, but like, 6 a.m. this, 7 a.m. that, 9 a.m. this, 10 a.m. that, like, here's where I'm going to be there. Here's where I'm taking a break. Here's where I'm reading my book. Like, do you go through that type of rigidity to your schedule?
I do in my work day. Okay. So keep in mind, I was a fireman. And so when you would go home from work, you were off the clock, right? Yeah, you didn't have to check email or do anything. There was no cell phone calls coming in late at night. You were done. Cool. I created that same environment in my work life. So I work at 6. I'm typically done by about 2:30 or 3. When I'm off the clock, I'm off the clock. My calendar is clear. When I'm on the clock, my calendar is dialed into the minute. So like example, I was expecting to get on 1 minute before we started because I had another call right before this, right?
Right. Gotcha.
And for me, for most people, like this guy's going to be late, but that's how I drive my life. I have tools in place. My team coordinator, she texts me saying, hey, don't forget 5 minutes. You got to be on a call. Again, if you see your time with clarity on what it's worth, you spend it differently. So when you do that exercise to say, what is my time really worth? Am I worth $5 an hour or $1,000 an hour? I would argue that all of us on this planet should be worth $500 an hour, should be have this high dollar per hour value in our time. When you see your time that way, you're not going to hang out with that sort of has-been friend that's kind of negative, but wants to go grab a drink. Like you're not going to make that decision, right? If I focus on my 3 pillars, if I haven't done anything with my daughter, and I haven't moved for 30 minutes, it's non-negotiable that I'm not going to sit on my porch at my office and drink a beer with my team. I'm going home. And so I will cut out early from different things. I will say, hey, I've got an obligation I need to go to because I'm just really focused on like achieving the goals that I committed to achieving.
Okay, so talk to me about goals for a second then, because look, from the time thing, I am with you 100%. And I say to everybody often, 20 minutes a day to own your tomorrow. And that whole premise to that is, and this is the way, I'll wrap it up on my days, is that at the end of the day, there's a line item in my schedule that says to do. And the end of the day could be 4 o'clock. It could be 9 o'clock. It all depends what the schedule is like for that day. And my day includes a lot of sports, which, for the little man, he plays a ton of baseball, a ton of hockey. It's crazy, right? So we're still going with that stuff now. And that's got to be part of the day because that's what we do it all for.
Yeah.
is those moments. So we got to
100%.
make the most of the time that we have. And so for me, again, the 20 minutes today to own tomorrow is looking at the schedule for tomorrow, doing that today, and saying what has to happen from like that 6 a.m. time frame right through to, making sure that every meeting is done, every note is taken, everything happens the way it's supposed to. And in between the gaps, going, when am I going to get my email done? When am I get onto my social media so I'm acting with purpose, not wasting time? When am I going to return those phone calls? When am I going to meet with my team and do those things? And everything has a time slot to it. I mean, without a schedule, there's not really a lot of direction.
No,
Much the same though.
If
And
you
this
don't
is
have a map, how do you get where you're supposed to go?
well, this is exactly it. So this is where I take it to goals, right? See, to me, the schedule is the map. The goals are the destination.
100%.
Right. So it's like, I know that this is what I want to hit. Perfect. How am I going to get there? I'm going to put it in my schedule, and I'm just going to do what my schedule says to do for those action items. And now I should easily get to my destination.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and for me, I think what's really hard it's hard for people to create goals that they're going to achieve. I think a lot of times people lie to themselves and they'll say, well, I'm committed, but their definition of committed is I might sort of sometimes get this done if it's comfortable.
Right.
Like that's not a commitment, right?
No.
Like, and we talk about like in the fire department, like if I know my daughter's on the other side of a burning door, I will find a way to move that door. That's commitment. It's not, I'm going to try. No, I'll find a way. That's commitment. I think with goals, what's really important as well is for people to have a very clear understanding of who they want to be. And so I did an exercise with some of my business partners up in the mountains a couple of weekends ago. And I asked them, if today was your best day ever, then what would you do moving forward? What actions would you do moving forward if today was your best day ever? Here's the problem. Most people can't describe their best day ever.
So what did you learn from people that said it?
So this is what was really interesting. What I learned is what it came back to is something I had learned years ago, which is personal mantra, which we would call conscious self-creation. It's writing a story about yourself that you speak to yourself every day. By doing that, if you said to yourself every day, I'm 220, 225 right now. I'm going to be in pounds. We got to make sure we say that, right?
Yeah.
I want to be 210 pounds. So if every morning I woke up and I said, I am a lean and mean 210 pounds, eventually I'm going to look at drinking and eating differently because I'm coaching myself into who I want to become. So if you're open to it, I'd like to share with the audience my conscious self-creation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool?
Yeah, man. Let's go.
I'm a man of faith who knows my creator and reflects my faith daily. God's grace eliminates anxiety in my life. I am a husband who is present with my wife and loves her each day like it's our last. I shower her with patience and grace, and we have an incredible relationship that is gentle and fun. My daughter is a huge part of my life, and I show her daily love in how I treat other women. She's always the most important person in the room unless my wife is present. She knows that I love her, and we have an unbreakable bond. She is showered with love, patience, grace, and positive affirmation daily. I invest authentic time with her. She knows that I am her biggest fan. I take my health seriously and am disciplined in what I put in my body. I am a lean 210 pounds and move daily to stay loose and pain-free. I invest in authentic friendships and am generous with my time. I run a successful branch and region. Dwell Mortgage and Victorian Finance are the envy of my competition. We hire and maintain top professionals and win every day. I'm a motivating leader. We are forging a new way of doing things that others want to emulate. We have incredible staff who exude our core values. We compete, innovate, and challenge each other daily. I'm a blessed man in so many ways. I'm saved by grace, loved by my creator and my family, and am continuing the legacy my father left behind. Now, David.
You read that every day?
Every day. And in fact, I'm going to be putting that on my wall. So when I walk into my office, I can't be distracted away from who I intend to become. Here's what's crazy about this.
Yeah.
I read this to my group because that, at the end of the day, that is my best life.
Yep.
If who I create becomes that, every day is a dream. Here's what's interesting. I wrote this 2 years ago. So the things now that I'm starting to have in my life, and a very solid relationship with my wife, which wasn't always the case, a beautiful daughter who adores her dad and I invest time in. I didn't even have a daughter when I wrote this.
Yeah.
So what's so powerful about our minds, this is a Mindshare podcast, is you can achieve what you intend to achieve if you speak it into your life with consistency and you avoid the gravitational pull of the outside world.
All right. Okay. So let me ask you this then. What about, because you said it before about writing down the goals, maybe not believing or thinking we should be achieving every single one immediately. What about the whole idea of when the going gets tough and, or no, let me say it in a different way. The fear of not hitting those goals stops most people from writing down those goals, stops most
Correct.
people from writing down what you just wrote down and reading it out loud every day because they just have a fear that they won't actually get there. They don't believe they can do it. What do you say about living in the concept of living in fear? And how do we do the exact opposite and live in abundance, just exactly how you're writing down there? Because that's exactly what you're manifesting to come to life for you.
I'm so glad you asked that. So I was working with one of my coaches and I struggle with this because I'm all about the outcome, not the process, right? The goal, that like we would call our goals our rocks. The rock is the outcome. It's the finish line of the map, right?
Mm-hmm.
The process is how you navigate the map, because the reality is our maps are not two-dimensional. They're three. There's valleys, there's peaks, there's rivers. There's a lot of things that get in our way from getting to our goal. Most people are not willing to embrace the process. The process, if you embrace the process and you live in the process, if for me, I have a ruptured disc in my low back. I had a roof follow me in a fire. We lifted a lot of very heavy people in my 12 years. My back is a mess. But what if every day my back was 1% better? What if worst case scenario, every year my back is 1% better? Well, then in 50 years, I'm 50% better. But if I look at the goal and I say, I'm never going to get where I need to be, I'll never be 50% better. So the process for me really helps by, because I would get down on myself so often if I'm like, I got to hit the goal. I didn't hit the goal. I got to hit the goal. I didn't hit the goal. But what if I break everything down into atomic habits? What if I break everything down into the simple 3 pillars in every day? If I stretch every day, is my back going to be better than if I don't stretch? Yes. How much? Who knows? But the process is improvement. There's no like finish line where you say, I have improved to the point where I'll never improve anymore. I think the reality is we think that we're going to get to this finish line and that things just are going to be perfect. But the finish line is every day working through your process. The goals are just motivation to work through the process.
Kevin Hart's book, I Can't Make This Up or something like that. I just read it recently. And I know I bring this up a lot for people that are tuned in right now. But his whole thing is he hasn't made it yet and that he continues to push the goalpost out further. And something that I live by is that, you know, what I want in life, it's not very realistic to believe that I'm going to have it this year. Like that's my life goals, right? So that's going to take time to get there. And I've got to understand that. And we all have to understand that. But much of it too is that, you know, setting those goals. And I tell everybody this is like, I don't really believe goals are meant to be hit. They're just meant to scare the shit out of you, push you to work harder, push you to do more, push you to keep going. And the more you keep going, the better you do, because it's those little things that you do in a day that help you get better every single day.
100%.
Right. And so when we're focused on doing that and looking at those little things that drive us, right, and we look at the time and we schedule accordingly, and we get out of this life of living in fear about what people are going to think or what we are going to achieve and who we are. Instead, we stay focused on what it is we want. We look at, again, like you said, those 3 pillars, and we look at the mantras of like, what is the most important in my life? When you focus on that and you put that little bit of effort into it and you actually look at it and work towards it, again, you are getting better. You just don't see it because you're looking at incremental little steps that you're taking. It's about the big picture.
100%. 100%.
Right? So you're setting goals. You're living to certain mantras in the way you operate. So there's pillars, there's things that need to be accomplished in a day. We know that we're not going to always be 100% perfect. Life throws monkey wrenches at us all the time. So this was where I was going a moment ago before the fear question. But so when things get tough, then when the going seriously gets tough, how do we deal with life? How do you deal with the balance of it all? Like you're on track, everything's going well, and all of a sudden something happens with your schedule, or you're on track and somebody says something, you don't get that deal, or something else happens. Wow, that's like you're like driving down this road, all of a sudden somebody pulled the road out from under you and you're starting to go this way and you're not following that map anymore. How do we get back on?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is just simplicity, right? Like at the end of the day, the reason I have 3 pillars and not 30 is because if I stop, I can always accomplish the 3,
Right.
right? Like so I think it's almost like having a mental lighthouse. When things aren't going right, you got to be able to refocus and recenter yourself. So you've got to have some mechanism, some place, a person, a book, something that is your go-to. It's almost like a good drug, right? So like if you have an allergic reaction to nuts, you're going to take an EpiPen to stop that reaction. Well, what is your EpiPen in your life that stops that negative reaction you're having in a day? And for me, I call it, it's kind of silly, but I have truck time. I have 30-minute drives to and from my office to my house. I live out in kind of the sticks. That 30-minute time is my sacred place where no one can come into my space. I am in 100% control of that space. What I listen to, what I consume, if I eat, if I don't, the pace at which I'm driving, that is my time. So I use that time very effectively. My drive, my commute is not a commute. That is my like time to like really prepare to make sure I can win the day or not lose at home because I had a bad day. Right? It's win the day at work or win the day at home, right? And so for me, I just have these little tools that I use when the going gets tough. I go back to that. Now, I think too, it's important to be gracious with yourself. You're going to have days where you just absolutely puke in your lap. And like, you got to be comfortable driving home with puke in your lap. You got to be comfortable laughing at yourself. You got to be comfortable saying, if not today, tomorrow, like give yourself some grace, right? And I think it's really important because we get very hard on ourselves because we consume social media. And man, David's life is amazing all the time. He's got these great kids. He's always doing sports. His life is perfect. So if I have a bad day, I'm comparing to your day that I see online when the reality is you're just like me. Good days, bad days. So part of it is we got to get our heads out of the news, get our heads out of social media. It's garbage. Now, if you need to use it for business, which you and I both do, there's a place for social media in our lives. There's a place for engagement on social media. We're on social media right now, right? But don't let that become your guiding light or your compass or your lighthouse when you're having a bad day.
Hold on. And I don't even think people do it when they're having a bad day. And like, I got to double down on that right now and say the exact same thing. We are on social media for the sake, like this is, it was fun at one point. It was interesting at one point. It became monotonous quickly. And it is now one of those byproducts of business that we do because it's again, a byproduct of business. How we build Mindshare, how we connect with other people. And don't get me wrong, to anybody that I connect with on social media, I do it genuinely. It's not there like at 100%. BS. That said, we know that there's a lot of people struggling with a lot of issues when it comes to mindset, when it comes to productivity, when it comes to focus. Yet those same people will be all over social media on a regular basis. And this is where, for me, I know when I open up social these days, I rarely enjoy my scroll anymore. And again, forgive me to everybody that's in my feed. It's nothing against anybody individually. It's that thing of you see a lot of the same, and then you see a lot of the complaints, or you see a lot of people who are doing super well, and you're like, whoa, wait a second. Why them and not me?
Yeah.
And these are just normal things that people go through. And this is not just isolated to me or to you, Shane. We know this. This is to a lot of the people that we talk to on a regular basis. And I know a lot of people that are tuned in right now are going, yeah, that's me. So why do we feel this need to pick this stuff up? Because I'm the same way. I turned off the mainstream news like probably early on 2020 when this whole sort of world went upside down. I thought, enough. I don't want to hear anymore. We're going to live the life we need to live. We're going to do the things we need to do. We're going to do what makes us happy, what makes us successful. And we're going to continue to live because we don't have another choice beyond that. And quite frankly, we've been happier because of it. Less mainstream media, actually no mainstream media, much less social media. And now we're a lot more centered on what we need to be doing and achieving in a day.
You know, David, I think what's really interesting. So Theodore Roosevelt said a great quote. He said, comparison is the thief of all joys.
Oh, yep.
And I love that because now I would challenge that. What I do is I compare myself to the self that I created and intend to be. So if I compare to you, I'm always going to fail because what I see of you is it's not really you. It's my perception of you. Yep. If I see myself, I go, man, I'm failing. David's successful. Man, my other buddies are successful. My day wasn't. I have one kid. I want 4. I'm old. I hurt, whatever. It doesn't matter. What if I said, hey, I'm going to compare myself to the conscious self that I created? And I say, you know what? I'm not there, but damn, I'm a lot closer than I was yesterday.
That's right.
Now it's a challenge, but it's a fun game you're playing with yourself. You're not playing it with others, right? And I think that's the challenge is I am never going to get joy comparing my life to yours.
Right.
Even if my life looks better than yours, it's still negative.
Okay, then this goes back to when I asked you the question about how do you track it in a day? How do you know that it's working a day? And I'll tell you, for me, right off the top, I know what the goals are. I look at them every single morning of my life. I look at them; they're tattooed on my brain already. Yet I'm going to re-look at them every morning to go, "Yep, that's what it is." Now, when I do a date night with Jennifer, we went out to see Top Gun the other day, which, by the way, anybody who's a Top Gun fan, the movie was badass. Go see it. It takes you right back into that moment. It's anyways, sidebar. But I'll go back to the goal sheet, like where I track everything. I'll put a 1 in that little cell that says date night. And she laughs sometimes because she comes home, she's like, "You just went on a date night so you can mark down your 1." I'm like, "No, honey, I put it on the sheet so that I can make sure I do the date night. But I also want to recognize that I did it. And I want to know that I'm winning." And so for me, it's a daily tracking of all the little things that need to be done to go, "Did it? All right, cool. Let's keep rolling." Because no matter what, good things happen, bad things happen. We're going to wash it all away and say, "But look what we're accomplishing." And there's the comparison, because we always say, like, who you comparing yourself to? The person in the mirror. That's really your only competition. That's how I'm tracking. How are you tracking stuff to know that you're doing those little things?
Yeah, I use a thankfulness journal.
Okay,
So
cool.
I believe that the voice speaks to me, and I do my best to listen to the voice. And if it says you should stop doing what you're doing, you should move, you should sell a home, you had a great day, you're a blessed man. For me, I need to take that voice and I need to put it on paper. So I do that on my phone. I have a note, my iCloud, that I share with my wife that is my thankfulness journal. Now, what's really powerful about this for me is my daughter's 14 months old. Most of my thankfulness right now is around my family and my daughter, right? Which it should be.
Yeah.
When she's 18, I'm going to share that with her. And this is going to become an incredible picture back in time, look back in time. But for me, I just am constantly writing down the things that I'm thankful for, right? The things you notice are the things you notice, right? So the things I write down, I go, man, I'm super blessed today. My back didn't hurt. I was able to get a lot done at the office. I had some amazing interactions with people from Toronto to Seattle. My day was blessed. And at the end of my thankfulness journal, and I'm going to pull it up here on my phone because it's really, really important, is I always say, my cup is full. And I think for me, it's really important to be like, no matter what happened in my day, can I acknowledge that there was greatness in that day? Because if I can't acknowledge that muscle in my brain is going to atrophy and go away.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty soon. You ever hang out with those people that everything is negative?
Everything. Like it's to the point where, like, I don't hang out with those people.
Oh my! It's like they stub their toe on their way to the restaurant, then they get a bad server, then the bill isn't right, then their car doesn't work, then their car got keyed, then they got a parking ticket, and it's like, oh my gosh, you don't have a gratefulness muscle in your mind. It's been atrophied away to nothing. So for me, I intentionally need to be writing down the things I'm thankful for, and then just recently, new habit. My wife and I sit down every night at 8:30 and we take 10 to 15 minutes just to acknowledge each other and the things we're thankful for.
Nice. See, for me, I think it's great that you guys talk it out. I was showing this and for everybody tuned in on the audio, holding up a pen right now, but this to me is the powerful, like, I mean, outside the brain, this is the most powerful weapon we've got right here. Right. This brings the thoughts to life. And it's interesting because when I write in my gratitude journal, and I do that nightly, and I write down, how grateful I am for the safety, the health, the happiness of my family, and for the strength of my relationship with my wife, for our abundant life. And there's a number of things that I write down that are really, staples in there. When writing, it's interesting because although even my wife, Jennifer, does not go in and read my journal, it's just, whatever, it's just mine. It's not hers. She's got hers and I don't read hers either. Although we don't do that, when I'm writing, I'm almost writing as if somebody else was going to read it.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because the details that come out and the way I express the thought becomes very real, right? So I got to be very specific, very determined to what I'm writing and acknowledging the good, because you know what? Life is what it is. 24 hours in a day, something is not going to go the way you want it to go. Something is going to happen. That post is going to be seen. You're going to look at it. You're going to get that thought, or that person, like I said before, is going to say no, or just whatever. You're going to be, traffic is going to be who knows? Shit happens. What we can't be focused on, though, is the shit that happened. We got to focus on the shit that we're making happen, right? And I'm talking about the good shit. And that for me is that's where, again, the nighttime routine of the gratitude, just as you're saying there, it is massively crucial, because if we don't recognize what it is that we got going on that's good in life, just like you said, stub my toe, to crash my car, to this and that, to, meal got late, and that's the life you're living right there. Now, you brought up coaching with David Goggins, and I know you brought that up when we were in Atlanta at dinner that night. And you like went off about, and I can't even remember the exact sort of, things that you had shared about it, but you'd shared some good stuff as you were telling us that story, around when you coached with him and sort of the push and that's the part that I remember. It was the push, like, whipping you into shape, like getting you to the next level. Maybe you could bring some of that back up. Do you remember what I'm talking about there? Like,
Yeah.
And sort of brings it. There was that one thing about just the push. How he, like, it was almost like, "Are you kidding me?" He would say to you, sort of thing. Like, "Let's go."
So I was blessed to be able to be connected to David through a kind of a mutual acquaintance, and we come from very different experiences in life, but share some similar things. And I went to David because my mind was weak. I was insecure. I listened to the voices. I was not strong mentally. What David taught me was that, like, every day you need to be, every hour, every minute, you need to be exercising your mental muscle and being uncomfortable. Like, that's key for David, is being uncomfortable.
Yeah, that I remember now.
And what I'll share a story that I shared with you. So, I would meet with David. I think it was like every Sunday night. I never met him in person. It was all through phone.
Yeah.
Right. And we had this workout routine I was working on. Every time I'd leave my office door, I'd have to do push-ups and things like that. And again, what's the point? It was just about challenging yourself to be uncomfortable, right? Because if you can be comfortable being uncomfortable, nothing is hard to do, right? And we had that in the fire department too. Like, they would put you through different experiences where you had to become comfortable being uncomfortable, so that if something bad happened, it wasn't that big of a deal. So David challenged me, and I failed one time. I probably failed multiple times, but I was going on vacation to Hawaii. I go to Hawaii, and in my mind, I'm thinking, like normal people think, when you go to Hawaii, you party, you hang out, you relax, you sunbathe, whatever. Well, in David's mind, I should have gone to Hawaii and worked out every day and been super tough. And, like, again, because to Hawaii, to Seattle, it's irrelevant, to him. Like, I had a commitment and a plan. I come back from Hawaii, and I did what people typically do. He's like, "Hey man, how was your trip?" I'm like, "Oh, dude, pretty good, pretty good." He's like, "How many days you work out?" And instantly my brain goes, "Oh shit, I'm caught." What did I say? What did I say? I said, "Well, pretty good, pretty good." I worked out a few days, and really in my head, I'm thinking I jogged like twice. One of those times I jogged to Starbucks, again, weak mindset, right? Yeah. He ripped me for the next like 55 minutes. I was sweating over the phone. I walked downstairs. I looked at my wife in a daze, and she's like, "How was it?" I go, "I got to go." I got in my truck. I drove to we have this, it's like a Kroger's, QFC. I sat in the parking lot for an hour, and I stared at myself. And what I realized was David was disappointed because I was allowing everyone else's expectations for success to be my barometer. You go on vacation and you goof off and have fun. That's what people do. That's what you do. In David's world, you do what you're supposed to do, regardless of what everyone else is doing. And it was a really important lesson for me to say, what do I want? What matters to me? Why am I comparing if I'm successful based on somebody else who doesn't have the same set of goals as me? Like, if it's okay to be overweight, but just not be obese, like, then, and if I use that as a comparison, then I will be overweight. I'll just be slightly less overweight when I know I need to be lean for my back, all these other things. That's a mindset, right? But what you have to do is you got to beat yourself up, or have somebody like David that beats you up, right? And it was one of the most rewarding experiences, which is very weird to say. It was one of the most rewarding experiences because what it taught me through the swearing and the yelling and threatening to stop coaching me, which he was right, because I broke my word to myself. He was just the voice on my other shoulder that I didn't listen to. Right. It was such a powerful message for me. And so that's what I remember sharing with you. And it just
yeah. I remember when you mentioned he ripped you a new one just on something. That was exactly, forgive me for not recalling the details of the story. That was it. So staying in control of you then, right? And I mean, there's the big thing about today, right? How to be and stay in control. the focus on what other people are doing. We've talked about the mainstream media. I mean, I think the social media exasperates that entire thing where we look and we think, I got to compare myself. I got to do what they're doing. I've got to be that person. The example you just shared, like, go on vacation. What do people do on vacation? They go and they vacay and they party and they do whatever. I'm going to go do the same. To achieve the things that we want to achieve, we need to be focused on what it is that we want to achieve. And no matter the noise and no matter the outside influences, we've got to stay focused on that. Some would look at that and say that's not a way to enjoy life. What would you say to that?
I've never been more blessed. I've never been more happy. I've never been more thankful and grateful. I'm in control of my life in the areas I can control. And then the areas I can't control, I have the freedom to know that whatever happens, I give myself the grace to fail. And so I think that, again, what would my coach say to me is, why would you listen to somebody who isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, telling you how you should think about your life? Like, at the end of the day, I stopped listening to everyone else that wasn't doing what was required for them to have the best version of their life. I'm like, my circle got very small, and it got very small, but then it started to get bigger again, because now I was only gravitating towards people like you, like my buddies in Next Level. Like, it's great when you can go in a room with people you don't know and have an authentic 3-hour meal with no like effort, because you're just surrounded by people that are like-minded, right? So if I listen to everyone else saying, well, that seems really like rigid, and says the person with no discipline.
That's usually where it comes from too, right? Yeah. Is that you said it bang on, man.
Do you ever see a marathon runner saying you should just live your life more and go drink late into the evening? No. You ever see a professional athlete say you should just be less disciplined with your therapy routines? Of course not. The people who are actually accomplishing anything in life, they understand that like their success is derived from their actions equating to their results, their mindset, their decisions, their goals. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Now, if we actually convert that to everyone on this call and you and I, if you don't dictate my success and I dictate my success, then that means I'm in control of my success. How freeing is that to know that everything we've ever wanted, we can actually control? Like, that's a powerful place to be.
Oh my God. And people, that everybody longs for that, that work-life balance, right? That not feeling overwhelmed. Everybody wants it. There's a very tiny percentage of people that actually put the discipline in place to achieve it. And it takes discipline, because I'll tell you the same, outside of my quiet place being my motorcycle, which again, that's all like no joke on that. That's just my space. My spot that keeps me fully in control is my calendar. That is my schedule, because now I know that all of the things that are on there, those are all, not all income producing activities, but we know we've got our IPAs in there. We know that we've got our time with family in there. We know that we've got the important things that we need to do in life in there. And that's the place to continue to look at. And that is, again, for myself, what helps me get to that next place, because I know that I am focused much the same way. And we're both, we both spend our days coaching people and helping people get to that next level. And we hear from people all the time, like, I don't know if I need a coach. Why would I get a coach? Yet you hear from the top people, like business people, musicians, artists, like athletes, you name it, the best of the best have coaches on a regular basis, because again, they're there to push and push and push. Now, your hat, the front of your hat says "Be awesome." Perfect for today's show, but I know that like that's one of your one of your hats. How can everybody be more awesome every single day? Like, I think we've covered a lot of that today in terms of like what people can do, but that whole thing of be awesome, because I know that's, I don't know, mantra or whatnot, but you rock that a lot. There's a deeper meaning to that for you, obviously.
Yeah. Well, the beginning of it, what's not on the hat is, why be average when you can be awesome? Right. And that's a question I think that it's empowering when you understand that that's a question that you're asking yourself because you control the outcome. I think for me, I think the goal is like, I want to live my life with intention, and I want to live my life with contribution. Like, I want to make sure that, like, you and I got to spend an hour together. I really hope I was able to contribute a benefit to your life, right? Because
Always, brother.
but man, if we all do that, it's so much more fun to give than it is to take 100% of the time, right? So I think it's important. Being awesome for me is being disciplined, being an example to the people in my life that matter. If we work, we are a provider for someone. And I take that role very, very seriously. Like, I'm a provider for my family. I'm a provider for my companies. I'm a provider for the people that I coach. And they expect me to show up my best every day. They're coming to me saying, I'm not where I need to be, and I'm going to get something from Shane. My daughter's expecting me to provide for her. I have no choice but to show up and be awesome every day. Doesn't mean I don't fail, but that's my goal. That's my mindset. And I think if we all do that, if we had that mindset, if we all said, I'm going to be awesome today, the news would be completely different. Social media would be completely different, right? It'd be a bunch
It'd
of
be
people.
really nice if the news would reporting nice things and happy things and awesome things rather than the things they talk about 24/7.
Yeah, but what if even politicians said, "Hey guys, I just want to let you know I dropped the ball yesterday. I made a
Yep.
mistake. I really failed in my role, and I'm asking for your forgiveness, City of Toronto." That guy or gal would get reelected to as many terms as they could, because we're finally somebody's actually being honest and authentic and
Taking
real, right?
responsibility as well. Absolutely.
So I think that for me, being awesome is just being authentic, being honest, being raw, no filter, right? Like, I'm an executive, but I don't wear suits all the time,
Yeah.
because for me, I want to be myself. I want people to know that the guy they see on Facebook is the guy they're going to run into down the street.
I couldn't authenticity. I couldn't agree more with that. It's huge, man. And again, I think that that's one of the biggest issues we see with people who are watching the socials and worrying about what everybody else is doing, is they're seeing a lot of this facade that's out there, a lot of this fake stuff, and thinking that that is the way they need to be. And back to what you said about when you go on vacation with combo with Goggins, it's that same thing. I'm doing what other people think I should be doing rather than what I feel like I should be doing and what I want to be doing. And the want is really the goals and the set of where you want to be in life and what it is that you want to achieve. So I love the message and what the deeper meaning of that to you is, because obviously the words "be awesome" it can speak to anybody about the same thing, but the deeper meaning to it all is, how are you being awesome for other people? What are you
Yeah.
doing out there? So look, we've talked about the mindset, we've talked about the routines. I mean, when we look at the ideal routine in a day, I think we both completely agree that this is not something that you look at first thing or last thing in your day. It's got to be put away somewhere. You've got to get into your own space and really be able to lock and load into what it is that's important for you. The importance of really scheduling and making sure that, like, when you're on, you are on, and you're going like from here to here to here to here to here. You're accomplishing, you're being awesome, you're helping other people. I mean, this is at the end of the day, this is how we get closer to what we want. And this is how do we keep this thing strong, because this thing right here is in control of everything. So to that, and you've kind of already said it, but I want to ask you, because I always ask this question sort of towards the end of the show here. As you look over your day to day, when you finish your day to day, how do you know it's been a successful day? And does that just come back to the 3 pillars you've already defined?
See, that's the beauty of the 3 pillars, man. It's so simple that, like, my day is so easy to accomplish if I do what I say I'm going to do. Like, the reality is, and I'll leave you, your audience with this. The things you do are the things you want to do. Like, the things that are important to you are the things you do. If you eat a donut, it was more important than losing weight. If you go out with your friends and you ignore time with your spouse, it was more important than time with your spouse. Whether you want to admit it or not, you do the things in your life. You focus on the things that are truly important to you, whether that's something you're embarrassed to admit to or not. Right? We have to be able to start from a place of truth. Right? The foundation for our lives is built on truth. I went through some dark times in my life. I remember years ago, I got in a place where I was working full-time as a fireman, full-time in the mortgage space, pretty successful at both, mentally fried. I was at my mortgage company, drinking on the job, driving home drunk, just like in a terrible place. The reality was that was more important than spending time with my wife, spending time with my parents, spending time with my faith. I had to tell myself that and say, you know what? The things that should be important to me just simply are not important to me. And then ask the question, why? I got counseling. I surrounded myself with great people. I retired from the fire department because I was mentally fried, and I hit reset. Everything that I've accomplished has been in the last 6 years. Everything that's been accomplished is because I told the truth. And it wasn't, I said, I'm great. I said, I'm not where I need to be. Why am I not there? And I didn't beat myself up or abuse myself. I just started from a place of truth. And I think that my encouragement for everybody is start everything with truth. What do you want and why does it matter? And are you actually doing the actions in your life that will get you the things that matter? If you aren't, the things don't matter, right? And then surround yourself with like-minded people. Everyone should have a coach in their life, even if it's a pastor, even if it's a family member, even if it's a spouse or a friend. We've seen suicide rates go up dramatically during COVID. And this is, I think, in large part because people have no hope because they have no help. And I think that's really, really important. So I leave everybody with this. Reach out. I'm always available online. I know David is as well. Come from a place of positivity. Simplify your goals so that you can achieve them every day, and then stop comparing to everyone else.
I'm dropping the mic right there. You are an absolute beast. Everybody better check in and tune into this one. Shane, where can people find you, man? Just so that they can stay connected and follow you and get to know you a little bit better than the short time we've been able to introduce you today, because I think it's important that everybody really tunes into your stuff.
Yeah, we've just been beating up social media, but find me on social media, and again, I'm on social media engaging with authenticity and having fun. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. I'm on all the platforms. I would love to connect. Send me a private message or an Instagram. I would love to reach out, have conversation. I learn something in every interaction I have. And you and I are consumers of knowledge, man. We just like to consume knowledge and just like learn and constantly be tinkering with our brain, right? It's so fun to meet with other people. So please reach out. I'm here to help anybody who wants to shift their perspective. I did it. It wasn't easy, but it can be accomplished.
Shane Kidwell, everybody, serial entrepreneur, motivator, and just an overall amazing dude. Shane, thank you, man. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, man.
You're either watching us live, you were watching this recording, you were listening to this on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, you name it. It is all over the place. Maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. Well, hey, make sure while you're there at my website, you grab the your Ultimate Marketing Bundle. This is a free download. It's a 31-page ebook packed with a 90-day social media content counter. Again, totally free, but all of it there in place to help you build more mind share so that you can get more market share. Of course, if you do want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching and explore that as an opportunity to get to your next level, just get in touch with my team, get in touch with me, DM me through any one of the platforms, connect with my team, whatever it be. We will set up an explore call. It is totally free. We will talk. We'll explore what you're looking to achieve and how we are going to help you do exactly that. Of course, do not forget that our push to 100 is on. All you have to do, and this is super easy, is go over to ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. Of course, if you haven't yet, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. I also want to thank Virginia Munden and the Buzz Conference for sponsoring today's episode. Be sure to visit the Buzz Conference online, www.thebuzzconference.com. Follow them on Instagram at the Buzz Conference. Keep tabs on all of the amazing events they're always hosting. And make sure you mark down these two dates if you haven't yet. June 24th, it's coming up really, really quickly, as well as September 7th and 8th. So again, go over to thebuzzconference.com, check out what they are doing on both of those dates. And we look forward to seeing you at both of those events. Of course, I want to thank Kids Keep in Touch Systems for sponsoring today's episode. If you haven't checked this out yet, just go to my website and click on marketing. So that's, again, mindshare101.com and click on marketing. All that being said, this has been another episode of the Mindshare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.